busy schedule.
I wonder if I've got time to record that list about
transits. What's the moon
and
doing?
you have to just
I gotta eat.
that day
I
around
feel
all
all day. God,
the
it's all
events.
read that. I spent a week. Next reading, last
Where
one.
are you?
Just
Grab
realized
my
that.
water.
Hi,
Hi, it's
how's your day
Matilda.
going?
It's so nice
Just
to hear
getting
your
your chart
voice.
Draw McGraw. She's
just-
on it. She pushed the button.
So he was pressing the record button, and I'm still stood here looking like a waffle on a stick.
1, 2, 3, let's go.
Yeah. You blink and you miss it. Hi, Laurie. How are you today?
Hi, Matilda. I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you very much. It's it's been a day. But
Hasn't it?
yes. But another week, another episode of the Sassy Seers.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are all enjoying it because we're getting sassier and we're still Seers.
And we are, kind of.
Yes. Have we ever explained why we call ourselves that? Because the
I don't think so.
the Spicy Seers was for a different platform.
That was for that's an OnlyFans account. That's our foot picture account.
Yes. Well,
if we just wanted to make money, that's where we'd go.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got two eyes between us that work.
We do.
And our third
And
eye.
our third
so that
eyes,
makes us
yeah.
Seers. That we are Seers.
We are Sears.
And we can predict the future. Did you know we could predict the future?
We can. With some reliability.
A fair bit of reliability, apparently.
You know what my favorite one this week was?
Oh, go on, tell me.
So I love it when my clients get back to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for all the big stuff, the big wins, the engagements or the business wins, it's the little things that get me the best. So I had a client about 5 weeks ago come in for a timing reading where we're looking at their timing. And it was mostly focused on employment. But then I said, ooh, and this is just really getting my attention. Do you have a wonky fridge or stove, an appliance? Because, honey, I think you're due for a replacement. And she said, well, we're really hoping to get the most out of the fridge for another 6 months. I said, well, you don't have 6 months. You need to put some money aside because I think in the next 3 weeks, you're going to need one. And she goes, well, the ice maker is broken. I said, well, get one with a good ice maker. 3 weeks to the day, she sends me a little love note on my website saying, well, the new fridge is great. We love everything about you. I love that. I love it when I get people to take care of their roofs, their plumbing. I have this thing about household repairs that I nail every time. And like I said,
I hope not. I really hope not.
Oh, but I love it.
You told me that my roof, I was going to have a problem with my roof.
Well, get your roof fixed.
There's nothing wrong with it.
You've got storms coming.
I've got storms at the moment, but I did have someone after that conversation to come and clean out the gutters.
Oh, good. Well, then, so you've been prepared.
I am prepared. But yes, we are in the middle of torrential rain here in sunny Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, but yeah,
we said April would be wet.
In more ways than one. It's not just the water falling from the sky; it is the water that is below.
Yeah. There's going to be. I'm looking at April 10th really strongly. I know everybody's focused on the eclipse, but April 10th. Which is probably the day this is coming out.
Yes.
Because we're recording.
We are recording early.
We're recording early because I'm flying out to Bahrain on Sunday, which is when we normally record. But I think there's going to be a really big event that deals with water and ocean water specifically. It could be a Navy thing. It could be a big ship go down. It could be an earthquake under the water that causes a tsunami. That there's something, I think, significant on a mundane level
I felt that it was something to do with a boat, or I have seen something to do with a boat, ship, whatever you want to call it, that may be housing some chemicals of some sort.
Oh, I have that in my predictions as far as like toxic waste or nuclear waste.
Yeah, I saw
I'm
more
very
nuclear
concerned
waste,
about
I'm
that.
going to be honest.
Oh, fuck.
And I had a feeling like they were showing me sort of like it could be an oil spill, you know.
Yeah, that's petrochemical issues. It
Yeah.
would be a big one with this. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so be aware that that could well be happening. But I think that water is going to be an issue all month.
All month, whether it's water systems, like water main lines, plumbing issues, all, especially around the 10th through the 12th. And this is how we work together, guys. When we do work together, this is exactly, I'll point out a date and then I'll say something and then she corroborates through her spidey senses.
And they've always been quite accurate doing it. Look, we're both accurate alone, but when we work together, we actually nail things quite well.
It's like double the juice.
Yes, we are good
I like
at
that. We're going to do some of that. We're going to do some public stuff with that. So
I think it's a really good idea.
I do.
The Sassy Seers go in the wild.
Go rogue.
I was going to say go rogue, but the Sassy Seers in the wild would be quite scary, I think.
Simmy. I keep trying to get us onto OnlyFans.
She keeps trying. I don't think anybody needs to see our feet.
I can't make tassels twirl, so.
No, I can't make tassels twirls. My hip hurts too much.
I'm very impressed by those who can, though.
Yes.
I'm like, that's talent.
It is, and to do it at the same time. I'm doing.
Or when they get them going the opposite directions, it's like, how do you do that?
Yes.
I know. Whereas some people would be more to. Oops. My battery's running low. Hold on a minute.
Is that your battery or your laptop battery?
No, my battery is fine. It's well caffeinated. Hang on a second. What is going on with this thing? Talk to people while I fix my battery.
I have to talk to you now about all sorts of things. But we are not going on OnlyFans. You can rest easy with that. We will not traumatize people any more than we need to.
Nobody needs to see what I've got.
I don't even like to see what I've got, you know.
Right.
But we were talking before about how so many, and you use the term world servers.
Yes.
Which makes me actually feel like a server for a computer. World servers, light workers, metaphysicians. How many of us are actually black sheep of the family? And are the ones that have to go either no contact or have to step away from their family because their families don't like them very much. And it's purely because they get seen. Their family is actually the person that is extradited from the family, so to speak, is the one that sees them.
Yeah.
And sees through them. And they don't like it. So they're literally made to be the whipping boy of the family. And it's very common.
Very, very common. Almost every spiritual teacher has dealt with social isolation or ostracization in some way, whether it's through family or society, culture, dark nights of the soul, and moving through that, because everybody goes through a dark night of the soul at least once, if not many times.
Absolutely. You don't know you're going through it when you go through it.
Exactly.
But is your battery going to charge, or are you going to have to sit there holding that?
I'm going to have to hold it because for some reason the connection is.
I think it's your cable might be wonky.
Welcome to Mercury. It is my cable. Yeah. Welcome
Mercury
retrograde.
Yes, we had trouble having a phone call before where we had to call each other, half a dozen times before we could hear each other. So Mercury retrograde whether it is stationed direct or not, Madam Astrologer,
Right.
is causing...
It's stationing right now.
Yeah.
So as we
It's
speak,
causing
and that's usually
issues.
the wonkiest time is when it's stationing. So really during the retrograde phase, it's just like clean.
And why was it a suggestion to record now? Then,
because this is
Mr.
the time
Astrologer.
this is the time we have. You know, I don't have tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't have tomorrow because we are at different time zones as well. It was like, well, what are you doing that morning? Well, I've got this, this, and this. And then you were like, you've got something on tomorrow morning. And then the whole weekend, you very selfishly went to a conference and caught up with friends. Anybody would think you were on holidays.
I know. What was I like? Not working for 12 hours, 16 hours. I know.
Absolutely awful.
Being
and
social.
then I was away last week for 3 days.
Right.
So
having some time off. How dare you?
Yes, how dare I have some time off? So yeah, it's tough being us, isn't it?
It is.
But yes, so if you are a light worker and you have been ostracized by your family, or you are the black sheep of the family, you are actually not alone, because it's often because they don't want to be seen, and we will try and make them see things. And
that's something really important we have to not do too, is that's their experience. It's something I learned the hard way.
Yep.
Is perception is unique and individual.
Absolutely.
They can, especially if you've lived through a lot of trauma through the family, which a lot of us have, not everyone can handle the truth of their actions and be held accountable.
Absolutely.
And as long as you put your healing in the hands of the people who harmed you and them acknowledging the harm, you're not going to heal.
No.
And it is a very difficult thing to learn. And
it can
it's
take
a very
years.
difficult. It can take a very, very long time.
It took me many years because I was looking for the validation that I never got.
Yep, same.
And when I realized that there was no respect or no validation coming my way, I suddenly went, I'm actually going to put my energy into my children, my family.
Yes, that's what I did.
And that's where you actually heal.
Yeah. When I could no longer parent effectively because of the constant, and I tell people, don't pick at the wound, don't identify with your trauma. That's a silly thing because you're so much more than that. But if you're constantly picking at the wound, or the wound is being picked at, all it will do is fester and become septic.
Yeah.
And you have to debride it, which is painful. You
Very
have to
painful.
wash it out. And emotional wounds as well. They have to be debrided and cleaned out. And then you have to get the right medicine on it, when often that is therapy, or a lot of work. In my case, therapy didn't exist during a good part of those awarenesses.
Yes.
That was any good. Now there's so many good things. And I still find a lot of psychology just pathologizes you.
And if they try and move you, I find psychology, or the psychologists that I've come across, very few will assist. They want to. There's a lot of psychologists out there that only want to talk about their own experiences, and I find that even more damaging. But the worst thing you can do to your wound is just to stick a Band-Aid on it and get about your life.
Yeah. Yeah, and pretend, because it's not healing. God, I had therapists tell me when I was 15 years old, 15, ask me how I felt when my daughter was 15 years old. And I looked at that little thing and looked at what I had been facing. Oh my God, the horror of realization. But they told me I would always be broken. I would never be whole. I would be a prostitute, a drug addict, homeless. Try to kill myself by the time I was 30, and a lesbian.
Okay.
In 1985, for some reason, becoming a lesbian was the worst thing that could happen to you.
Wow. I wish I could become a lesbian. I'm sorry.
Me too. If sexual orientation was a choice, why would we choose men?
I'm with you. 100%.
It is not a choice. Okay. It is not it.
Yeah, but they didn't have it, and my family certainly didn't believe in therapy because we don't talk about things outside of our house. We keep everything inside our house. But yeah, just
mine did, but mine made me the problem.
Yeah, well, I was always the problem.
Yeah,
I was always the problem, and it took me many years to realize that I wasn't the problem, that the problem existed within the family and certain members of the family. But I'm okay with that. And I think that once you realize that you have the power to decide what you want and who you want in your life, that's sometimes the first steps to making sure that you're on the right pathway and knowing that they can't have power over you any further. But but my point is, we don't want to trauma dump. We don't want to talk about in-depth information, but realizing that as a light worker, metaphysician,
resistance will come out you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you are not alone being the black sheep of the family. It is a known phenomenon.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And even if other people in the family have gifts, they may be in denial of it because it's usually genetic as well. There's a genetic component.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't think that's talked enough about. But it was really when I had a lot of teachers on my journey. And I asked one of my spiritual teachers, why I specifically chose that family. Because I was like, what the hell was I thinking if I chose that family? And I didn't choose the trauma. We've talked about that before. But they said there was certain genetic components that were necessary. And some of that is you needed to be so highly sensitively tuned. And it does run in my family. There are, my mother's psychic as hell. Just does not use it in the right direction.
No, and my mother was very psychic, and my ability got very, very strong when she died. Her mother was very psychic. It ran in the family. I come from a very long line of Romany gypsies, and that's where the ability comes from. Tie that in with my mother not wanting to talk about the ability. Your father doesn't want to talk about that. My father is a staunch Roman Catholic who doesn't believe in his saying is, I am answerable to God and your mother, and not necessarily in that order. That's how staunch, and he grew up a staunch Catholic. I did go to Catholic school, but I didn't necessarily follow theology to any depth. And I am ashamed to say that a friend and I had a conversation over Easter, remembering which day Christ rose and which day he was. But I know. I remembered it from Stations of the Cross, but she asked the question and I said, I'm just going to think for a second. So I didn't pay a huge amount of attention. Yes, I know it's the third day. It did all come flooding back to me, but I think I'd blocked a little bit out. It's not that I do not respect religion. I respect anybody's religion and their ability to have faith in their religion. It's just not something that I choose to partake in.
I'm a spiritual humanist now, but I was a Sunday school teacher once.
Yes, okay. Well, I should have asked you then, shouldn't I? I did know it, and I didn't want to say, but I had to remember when Stations of the Cross was, and it was on the Good Friday. And that's how the last time, but part of the reason I stopped going to church, and I used to take my children to church because it was important for me to have that sense of community for them. Having no family when they were growing up, I felt that it was important, and I took my children to Stations of the Cross. Oh my goodness, they would have been 5 and 8. And when one of the brothers of the church stood up and started talking about abortion law and how disgusting it was, and how people made a choice, I removed my children from that church quicker than you can think.
Right.
because there's a time and a place, and I understand their choices behind it. But Good Friday is not that day.
No, it is not.
So yes, that is the last time I took my children to Stations of the Cross.
I left the church rebuking a congregation when I was 17.
I remember you telling me this story.
I know.
And you got very angry about something.
They weren't feeding a homeless man who came. It was a German Lutheran church. I had washed all the dishes after the, coffee hour. There was so much food in that basement, so many leftovers. And we had had a sermon on charity. And it just went through one ear and out the other of these people. This poor man walked up, and he was drunk. And he reeked. But now remember, I'm very sensitive. Waves of pain were wafting off of this man. And I kept getting flashes of a fire. And I knew he had lost his family. Okay, now I didn't say that because you couldn't talk about those things. But I knew that man was not just a drunk. There was a reason. And I think he must have grown up going to that church because he knew there would be food there. He asked for a plate of food, and all the old ladies told him to go away.
Oh.
Well, I was raised in a different church before I went to my grandmother's church. I went to my great-grandmother's church, and it was a little more it wasn't it was different. It wasn't evangelical, but it was closer to that. Yeah. And we were taught everybody that needs help is like Jesus. If you're not giving, that could be a test, right? So you should help people. And these people were not, and I started quoting, but that ye do for the least of these, you do for me, and I'm like, let's just go and they stopped me. They physically stopped me from getting him a plate of food.
Wow.
Oh, well, I had a temper. If you think I'm spicy now or sassy, I have chilled out a lot. I basically got out a bullwhip. Not really, but metaphorically. And I rebuked them in the name of Christ. My poor grandmother, who is a little bit like Mrs. Bouquet from Keeping Up Appearances, was like, oh, and they bundled me up, that literally bundled me up, shoved me into the car. And my grandmother, what about I said, I will not step foot in that church again. I said, I have work to do. I will go help people. This is my job. That is all of our jobs. What about your soul? I mean, mine is not in question, but everybody else's.
What about your soul?
And I was like, everybody who wouldn't feed that man their soul. And so and she made me talk to the pastor emeritus. It was a big drama. And he was a wonderful old man. And I gave him all my reasons. He said, you're right. You're right. But what if people do use the church as a crutch? And I'm like, oh.
Isn't that what it's there for?
Yeah. And he goes,
sorry,
I said, well, I'm not right. Yeah, exactly. But I have so much preacher teacher energy in me that I was just like, and, and I said, well, I have work to do and the church isn't the place for me to do it. I will do it out in the world, but I haven't lost faith. It's my faith that says that is a corruption and I will not enter in. I will go do work in the world. And he actually said, you're not wrong. Just promise me that you won't say never, because there might be a day you need that crutch. And I thought that was a very nice thing for him to do. And there was a time where I went to my friend's evangelical church as a single mother, because during worship service, you could cry. And they thought you were moved by spirit.
Oh, yes.
And I needed to cry, and I couldn't cry around my kids. So
you went there
to church so I could cry. And people are like, she is so filled by the Spirit. And I'd be like, yeah, that's what it is. I used to just.
Oh, that's actually really sad. That's a sad story, Laurie. I've always said this, that there are not a lot of Christians in Christianity, because it's in our action, not in our words, that we make a difference.
People forget about that. Oh, in Manchester, I saw the coolest statue, and it was of a woman in like suffragette type clothing, standing on the chair, and it said deeds, not words.
Yep.
I was like, That's my girl. Deeds, not words.
Yeah. People will be blinded by words, not by the actions of others. And I get very, very angry at Christian people or people who want to preach Christianity.
Yeah, people who claim it.
Yeah, behaving appallingly to other people. It makes me
if
sad.
you can let a person go hungry or unhoused.
I walked past somebody outside the shopping centre last year sometime. It was a relatively warm day, and he was a young lad, so 20s. Always breaks my heart because I've got children in their 20s. And he had his cup, and everyone was walking past him. Now, I didn't put money in the cup. I went into the shop. When I did my groceries, I bought bread rolls. I bought a chicken. I bought bottles of water. I even bought a packet of cigarettes because they're going to be useful at for something. And I put the change that I got from whatever I used into the bag and gave him the bag. I didn't stop. I just said, "There you go," and walked off.
Right.
Somebody just said, he's a druggie. Well, you know what? He's still somebody's son. People are not drug addicts by choice. There's no addict by choice. There's always a reason behind something. And
that might have been the act. That might have been the act of kindness that could be pivotal for him.
Yeah, but you don't need.
But even if it's not,
even if it's not, it's something. It's food in his belly, and what was more important were the bottles of water because it was a hot day.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
whatever because, he chose.
People complain about the houseless and mental health, not realizing how much mental health is impacted by dehydration.
Yeah. But also, I wanted to do this project years ago and I never got it off the ground. COVID stopped me doing this project. And I had a photographer lined up and everything. Every homeless person, and I'm not talking about America, okay, because I know that there's a deeper issue there. In Melbourne, and I lived in the centre of town, there are hundreds of homeless people, okay? Every single one of them would have a story.
Yes.
And everyone would have a family, and everyone would have a reason for being on the street.
Yes.
Because, and governments are often the reason. And I will be honest, Victoria in Australia is the only state that does not expunge criminal records after a period of time. No. So somebody can have a criminal record in their youth for doing something completely stupid, and they are going to be turned down for a mortgage or a house because of that criminal record when they're in their 30s or 40s. Or they're not going to get a job. I know somebody that was an ex-drug addict, got an incredible, got themselves clean, did the work on themselves, got a job, but the police check took 6 months. When they got the police report, even though they had been promoted and even though they had had a wonderful job, they lost their job because the police report came through. They hadn't done anything huge or terrible. This is the issue. So I wanted to take a photographer out and get a book showing someone, obviously with permission, this is the story behind them being homeless and hopefully raise funds for that sort of thing. But I really wanted to do that because there is a story behind every person.
Even in America.
Yeah.
There's a story. I mean, we have a systemic issue, but everybody has a family.
Yeah.
Everybody has.
It could be mental health that sends somebody into homelessness.
It could be rotten, shitty parents that kick their kids out at 17.
It could be 16. The loss of a job. They say that most people are one paycheck away from being homeless. You and I have both been single parents, with, keeping a roof above our head. Imagine if we'd have lost our jobs or not had an income
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. And it was terrifying at the time.
And that keeps a lot of people in bad relationships.
Yes.
Because of that fear, Yeah. I was there.
Every little bit that we can do to help small charities or charities that are not necessarily, it could be singular. We've got a GoFundMe person for Frank who's, been made redundant and he's in his 60s and he's looking at living on the street. Little stories like that make a difference.
It does. Humanizing. Like we've been saying.
It really
we must
humanize
each other instead of being, that's a houseless person. That's Frank. That's Bob. That's Joanne. That's Julie. And these are people. Yeah. These are people.
And they haven't had and there's a lot of veterans.
Oh,
are on this, how can you serve your country and be living on the streets and not have enough food in your belly? That is not the country that I thought.
And what's funny is the people who are the patriots, that are the first to vote for the people.
Yeah.
That will defund that stuff. And
but they're also the Christians. Yeah. They're also the Christians.
So like my parents weren't real into church until all hell broke loose and my abuse became known. And then all of a sudden they joined the church.
Oh, because
they had made fun of me. Right. And the rest of the family were so worried about being good Christians that they were busy forgiving them and left me to struggle. Yeah. And so it's why I say virtue's your greatest shadow. If you're worried about being a good person and getting into heaven, you might want to do some self-examination.
Yeah, because it's not going to, it's serious. I get so wound up by it. And people that turn a blind eye to things and there's this thing going around on social media about weaponized incompetence. They're using it, my husband has weaponized incompetence.
Yeah.
How many parents have gone, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know I was supposed to do this. I put a roof over your head. You should be grateful. I think that's the bare minimum that stops you being taken away from your family.
That's the legal requirement.
That's the legal requirements to be a parent. But there's a lot of people out there that are only, and this is a bit of a warning, guys.
I wish that would have been my experience, though.
What do you mean?
So I wish that would have been my parents' line. So my
okay,
extreme than that. Thus the smile. You've seen the Scorpio rising, like that would be nice.
Yeah, no, that
would have been nice. I wish that was my story. I'm afraid it was worse than that.
So sorry.
You know what? 0 clinical markers, baby, which means perfect mental health.
Well,
it took
got yourself
30
there.
years of work. Well, not quite. It's one of the reasons why I studied all the things I studied, including, all the different energy techniques and theosophy and astrology, spiritualism, all of that. It was a part of the healing journey because psychology sucked donkey balls back in the 90s.
Psychology wasn't there to actually help anyone.
Oh my God, no,
those that got the title of psychologist in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, it was horrendous. It was so bad.
This is what I'm going to talk about now is a bit of a warning for everyone. If we're only looking inwards and only worried about ourselves, it's going to be a really tricky time because we need to be coming together as a community. As much as I preach that we need to know, as much as I say that we need to look within to find our strength and work out who we are and what we need and be more self-aware, we actually need to use that strength to be more aware of our surroundings and those that need us. And that's really important, guys. That's really, really important.
Yeah. And so like with the eclipse, selfish people are going to get slapped. With the eclipse, selfish people, and I'm not talking about people who are selfing. There's a big difference to bringing your energy in.
Yes.
Taking care of yourself. Because if you don't love you, because what is the axiom? Love thy neighbor as you would love yourself. If you don't love yourself, how can you love your neighbor? You can't. You have to love you first, and because we can't pour from an empty cup. But selfishness is when we're in a live stream, what about me? What about me? What about me? I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. We're all tired.
Yeah.
We're all going through massive systemic change. It's scary for everybody, including us. You know, we sit there and trust me, we see stuff that we don't tell you.
We don't share with you because you guys would have sleepless nights. They would be, and if we don't have all the information or we're only getting snippets of information, why would we bring it to you? I got hauled over the coals because I made a TikTok the week before the Israel and Palestine Hamas went into Israel. And I said, something big's coming. I feel like there's a terrorist attack. I don't know where it is. I don't know what it is. Why didn't you phone Israel and warn them?
Oh, hey,
I actually got asked that. Benji.
Because they knew. Because they already knew. Okay.
I just I'd have ASIO at my front door within seconds if I did that. But we can't stop things happening.
No.
I would,
we can help you navigate it. We can help you
our job
navigate
is to help you navigate it and give you an all out, watch out for this, watch out for that. I made a video. I mean, you and I think both predicted the Baltimore Bridge.
Yes.
Fiasco.
I did. You and me both. Yeah. Because I had infrastructure failures. I had infrastructure failures and specifically said bridges and issues with ships. I didn't think it was going to be a 2-for-1.
You got
but there's been a bunch of them. There's been 3 bridges hit this week.
Yep. And I had Baltimore and I said a bridge collapse.
You did. You did.
But then I went and I said, there's more to come, more bridges, more problems. I see problems with big ships. I'm going on a cruise next week. Will I be okay? I'm,
Book a reading. Book a reading. You want to know about you? And I'm going to say this and be offended, people. Here's the sass. We do this for a living. We're giving public service announcement. You want to know about you? Cross the palms with silver, bitches, because we have bills to pay.
Yeah.
We are of service. Yes. And we also must eat.
Yes. So book a reading if you're that, because it's like a trauma dump. And then I start feeling guilty that I can't give specifics and whether Carol going on her cruise in the Mediterranean is going to be okay. I can't guarantee that from a comment.
I don't feel guilty for Carol taking a cruise. I'm like, book a reading. I used to, but I don't anymore because I've been on TikTok for so long. I don't feel guilty because, when people say, well, I can't afford your classes. I couldn't afford classes as a single mother with 2 small children. I saved my money.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would put a little bit away. I was not making good money at the time. And yes, I did professional astrology readings on the side. I had small children to feed and to take care of and educate. And guess where the priority was? And clothe. And I have a princess, let me tell you. And my son was a dapper Dan. He's a Taurus rising. He liked to look good and smell good, even as a toddler.
Oh, my God. I have
always. And they were always neat as a pin because I never wanted them to have the stigma of being in poverty.
No,
and so they looked better. They looked better when we were skint than we weren't.
My children were immaculately turned out. I'm here to tell you that.
Absolutely.
But people will push. And yes, I have had to. It's there's been times when I've switched off comments. The last 2 weeks have been pretty hairy on TikTok that I've stopped reading comments. I had one country in particular come for me. I'm not going to mention that country here. But then I had people that just want to argue for argue's sake. And I'm just like, really?
They're just trolls. And they're actually, what you want to do, here's a good strategy. This is what I do. Thank you for boosting my engagement.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Thank you for getting, just turn it. That's the Libra moon in me. Thank you.
Do you know what I love though? When I make those videos with all the predictions that have happened, right? And I put them out and they've all got dates. on them.
Yep.
They've got the date of the because I always date my videos when I'm making predictions. And I then have the news article or the story or whatever afterwards. And the smart ass goes, well, that's all in the news. No shit, Sherlock. I made the video 6 months ago.
Oh, I know. I was getting that with the Trump stuff when he got indicted last year for the first time. I had called his indictment a year to the month before it happened.
Well done.
And I was getting nervous because it happened on March 31st. And I had said in March of 2023, he'll be indicted. And I'm waiting that last week of March. And I'm like, shit. And I thought, in fact, I even said it on my own podcast, if this happens on April 1st, I am going to be so mad. Because do not come at me. And it happened March 31st. And I came up and everybody went, well, it's obvious. And I was like, I have the receipts from old videos and the comment section of everybody wringing their hands that he would go without any consequences. It was not obvious before the January 6th hearing.
And this is what really pisses me off. People go, oh, it's obvious. Do you know what? It's really obvious right now, but it wasn't obvious 6 months ago. I predicted King Charles's cancer.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
12 months before it happened, along with a follow-up video about something happening to the Wales family. All right?
Yep, you did.
He's an old man. Of course he's going to get cancer. Aren't you clever? You predicted an old man getting ill.
Yeah, whatever. I had that the coronation day was bad and explained that it showed no longevity for the king, for the monarch.
Well,
and people like, well, and I was like, no, I think it'll be like 2 years.
Yeah, it's a short reign.
It is, He should have named himself King Charles. He should have picked a different king name.
King Charles is not a good king's name.
It's not a good king name. He should have just been like, I'm King Bob.
Yep.
I'm King Bob. Call me Bob. But yeah, no, and it's, I knew it would be hard. That eclipse that happened on that coronation day was right on William's midheaven too. So I knew William would be going through it and had said so. And it's a shame. I know people don't like the privilege, but there's still people. Again, humanizing everyone.
If you dehumanize people, then you lose your empathy and your soul. Yeah. That's, people are so quick at dehumanizing people and people that call themselves metaphysicians on social media. They have dehumanized people horrifically over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Whether it's someone that's missing, they're using them to gain
clout.
It's ambulance chasing. Whether somebody's sick, whether somebody's died and they're claiming to have a direct line to them within 24 hours of their death because they're gonna link in with Gladys and talk to her, aren't they? Because wouldn't they do that?
Yeah.
But yeah. So be nice to people, humanize people, and we ourselves do not need to be dehumanized.
No, people kind of see us as not human. That's one of the reasons we do this podcast is, we poop, guys. We poop.
We have feelings.
We do have feelings.
We are not gumball machines.
No. Oh my God. It gets do this chart, do this one, do this one, do this one. I'm like, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And you're asking me to do labor for free.
Tell me about this. What's going on with this? What's going on in this country? And they come up with some random things. And I'm like, I know nothing about that. I don't even, it's not even on my radar. But I can guarantee every video that I make, there would be a dozen requests in that video.
Same. Oh my God. Somebody asked me, and it was actually a really nicely worded question. So I did a response video to it. And funny enough, and it's weird. I'll feel into the energy behind a comment before I reply.
Yeah.
And I could feel this one was something. Well, the woman wasn't asking for herself; she was asking for a friend that she was really worried about. And I went, "Oh, that makes sense," because I don't do that very often. I don't reply very often. And there's just a line of, what about this? What about this? What about me? What about me? What about me? What about me? And Alan Oken, the great astrologer, Alan Oken, who I was fortunate enough to correspond with as a young astrologer. And he was a deeply spiritual man. He did a lot of spiritual astrology, esoteric astrology. He even writes about that in his book, Alan Oken's
really?
Astrology. And he says, in the opening, like, as an astrologer, the fatigue of dealing with the what about me-isms.
Oh, yeah. You see it, and you will. I stopped answering a lot, but also, we've both got playlists. Go and have a look.
Nobody uses the playlists. I have entire playlists on placements, on, at astrology ABCs, I mean, anybody. It's this, it's kind of, have you heard of, like, there was a trend a while ago that was, let me Google that for you?
Yeah, I do feel sometimes, I have playlists which has all my predictions in of all the different areas of the world. I do sometimes forget to put the videos in there, and I top it up.
Right. I literally had somebody say, though, no, but I need you to do it. I don't have time. And I'm like,
oh, I would like to have seen your response.
But I didn't even respond. I just looked at the comment and went, I have no response to that without getting unreasonably angry, like Hulk smash, like how much time do you think we have?
Yeah. And
we are always working. I mean, you took your first 3 days off in how long?
I don't know, but yes. And part of that was work because I had to go down for that photo thingy. Right. So it wasn't like I had work is 3 days off.
Yeah. Everybody's acting. Yeah.
You're still making TikToks. You're still answering questions and emails. It was a 4-hour drive down. It was a full day of work. And then I got up. I spoke to you at 5 a.m.
Right.
And got in my car and drove home to avoid the Christmas traffic, the Easter traffic.
Whatever holiday it was.
I've forgotten. But I do have a week off in May.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
And people think with me traveling that I'm on vacation.
Do they exist?
It's not a holiday. One, I'm working. I'm still doing readings. I have had to reschedule some because I ain't doing a reading at 1 a.m. It's not happening.
No, I would not be doing that.
No, I was like, oh, that is the wrong time. But this is not, I mean, yes, we're having fun because one should, but my daughter and I are actually taking care of some very important business, things that needed to be taken care of a very long time, for her life. And so, there's a lot of bureaucracy we're having to deal with and do, so this is not a lark. This isn't Laurie living large and drinking champers every day. Although thank you for the champagne tea, because that was a highlight of the trip. That was very nice.
You're welcome.
It was such a pretty place. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. But yeah, we're working all the time because we are world servers and world teachers.
Yeah, and
that's
it's very
what we do.
But also, I'd like to point out, people have got to understand that this is. They have the wrong idea from watching different people work on how it works. I can't pluck answers out of my ass. Okay. It takes energy. I have to ask my guides. I'm not going to waste that energy on a trivial question when there's so much else that I need to be working on, looking at. I don't answer or people will notice this. I often don't make prediction videos on a day when I'm doing readings. My energy is for my clients.
Yeah.
And I won't go online and make prediction videos or download a lot of social media content because that is my day for my clients. And my clients are the most important. My energy is for them.
Yes.
And I will not be tired when I work with them. So
it is extraordinary. That's what my apprentices learned, is how much energy, even though
there's prep work and what have you. You do put a lot of hours into an astrology reading, but they found out just that one-on-one, the deep intimacy alone that happens in a reading.
Yeah. And somebody's made this comment on I had some beautiful comments today on readings. I can't remember what the video was that I made, but somebody said that it was the most healing and emotional releasing experience they'd ever had. So if that is that way for you, imagine the energy it's taking for me. Because I'm just the vessel that gives you the information. And it's coming through me. But it is exhausting. But we love doing it, and we sound like we're whinging, but we are just two women
I think we're
after
explaining.
work.
Yeah, but I think we're explaining because I think people need to understand it, because we do this because it's a calling. Yeah. We do this because it's a calling. And
people wouldn't be psychic for a choice. People wouldn't be... I wouldn't do this. I love doing it, don't get me wrong, and I love helping people. And my one-on-one clients, I get a lot of...
I love my clients.
Yeah, I love being able to help people. Yeah. But
it's the best feeling in the world.
It's like a job that at the end of the day you are exhausted, and you do want to download and off.
Yeah. I like to play a video game or put my feet up and watch a comedy or listen to something funny or watch dumb cat videos. I know poor Matilda's way up past her bedtime. She's yawning like everything.
I keep yawning and I'm going, I'm so sorry. Because it's usually Laurie that's up late, and Laurie's a night owl and I am an early bird. And when we get to this point of the evening, I probably stop making sense, and I just keep yawning. And
you're doing great.
I'm sorry.
You don't need to be sorry at all, and you're doing great. You don't need to be sorry. But yeah, we're not whining. We're really not, because we're trying to explain what it takes and what it takes out of us. There's a reason both of us have compromised our health, which was not good, and we've learned our lesson.
Yep, we've both had a conversation about that in the last couple of days, that we've both, to a point, compromised our health, and we have to make the sacrifice of not working as much in order to get that back. If you imagine so today I'm yawning. It's 11:15. I got up this morning at 6 o'clock, 6:30 maybe, did my chores, got myself ready, started my readings. I did 6 readings today. They weren't 6-hour-long readings. Right. There was only 2-hour-long readings in there, and the others were 30-minute readings. So I did those. I recorded my own podcast. We're on our second recording today. I feel like I have run a marathon.
Right.
Because of the energy that I've had to use. And I will sleep very well tonight if I can get into the bed, because Buff is across my pillows. But I'm just so when at the end of a day of working, where somebody will say, "Oh, we'll go to the gym, go for a walk, go for a swim," I'm a zombie, because it is like running a marathon, which is why I've condensed my days for future months, because something had to give, and I want to be able to do some groups where I can teach and help people. Rather than just do individual readings. And Laurie is now doing the splits.
I am doing the splits. I'm stretching out. My knees hurt.
I'm sorry.
Well, she's just chubby and walking more than she's used to. But I won't be chubby anymore. I'm walking it off.
I did that. Do you remember last week I walked around that shopping centre?
Oh, yes.
And by Thursday night, because I was staying in a hotel which is next to the biggest shopping centre in Melbourne, amazing hotel, I got a cramp in the back of my knee from walking so much. And then I got up the next day and drove home. The next day I couldn't straighten my leg, because I had so much pain behind my knee. I got the old massage gun on it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It was great.
There's a little muscle behind the knee that'll get tight from driving. I learned that from a massage therapist friend of mine, because I had that when I did my road trips back in 2018. Okay. So I was like, why does my knee hurt from driving? And they're like, oh, it's this muscle. And you just,
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, in 2022, I read, well, in end of 2021, I read 7 days a week.
Wow.
In 2022, I went down to 5 days a week, and I was reading from morning till night. 2023, I started to turn the ship around and say, because you can't, it's unsustainable. There is one us. And that's why I got heavy is I wasn't moving enough, because I was literally rolling out of bed, grabbing a coffee, going into a reading, and, then recording all the TikToks and the podcast. And I'm not doing a lot of TikToks because, frankly, the quality has gone down on TikTok. It used to be super fun, super creative back in 2020, 2021. People were in it to support.
Yeah, there would be a lot more support. I'm very lucky. I've got a very engaged following.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that, and they're great. But to be fair, when you get on the algorithm and your videos are actually being pushed out, which most people like, you pick up every Looney Tune,
every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and it is I hate it when my God, and they're an expert. I had one chick try to, like, when on the bridge thing, come at me about conspiracy theories, which there's no conspiracy theory in it.
It was an accident. It
was poor maintenance in the shipping is the only thing, is people are once again choosing profits over people. Big surprise. And then made this video with her trying to do a mundane astrology chart out her ass, and wanted me to teach her. And it was just this hubris. And I'm like, smoke another whatever, girl. No, it was such a breach of boundaries, and such, even in this so-called spiritual community, people, there's boundaries. I would never go up to a more senior person than me, and they do exist. I would not walk up to Robert Hand and say, teach me something. I will take his workshop, even if I had to save up for it. Okay. And I've done that. We do not, it's not gatekeeping.
We've put the fucking hard yards in, excuse my French, but we've worked our asses off. And the thing is that we've worked our asses off, and got some 20-year-old on social media, and she's giving predictions, but she's using her ego, and she's doing aura readings, and she knows this and she knows that. And
I can see you so.
And people go, she's so accurate. How do you know she's accurate? Have you spoken to the people she's talking about?
I don't know who needs to hear this, but I'm just going to let you know it's okay if you don't feel good about yourself, because everybody doesn't feel good about themselves sometimes. Spirit says that you're supposed to love yourself. Babes, that's accurate for 90% of the population.
Yeah. Or I don't know who needs to hear this, but I'm being drawn to matters of the heart, and somebody that you haven't had communication with is coming back this Mercury retrograde.
Oh God, don't.
If I have an ex come back during Mercury retrograde, they're going to get short shrift, because there's no exes that I want to talk to that have ever been in my life.
All of my exes are blocked. Block your exes. Do not talk to exes unless it's like very amicable.
Yeah, my ex-husband and I are very good friends.
Yeah. But if it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a them friend, and you guys just went round the bush a couple of times, block them.
But also, if you've got shitty friends that have treated you appallingly, and you're really hoping they're going to reach out, they're not going to change. Block them too.
Yeah, block people.
Just block everyone.
Block them all. Block the bastards. It's seriously, like, people need to have some agency over their own lives. So, but we'll talk about that next week. Well, why don't we talk about reading addiction next week?
Yes, I have actually covered that this week on my podcast.
Oh, did you?
I did. I didn't talk about it in depth. We could probably talk about it a little bit more, because I covered a few topics this week, which was last week, if you're listening to this podcast. on the 10th, when it's released, my podcast on the 1st of April talked about reading addiction and how damaging they are to your mental health.
Right. That's good. That's good. Because it is.
It is. It's very,
you need to use your agency, people. Our job is to empower, not to keep you dependent.
I liken it to a personal trainer. You go to a personal trainer to give you the tips and tricks to keep yourself healthy, but you do not use them every day unless you're very rich. The same as a psychic reading. You go to them for their advice and what Spirit have to say for you. If you don't go away and use those tools, then don't call back in a week and say, what else is new?
Yeah.
I'm starting to push back on people that are booking too often.
Yeah, that's good. Because there's only one of you, and you got to make room for people who need you.
I think I've seen people book it every 2 months, and it is it's not good. It's almost like as long, because I release 2 months in advance. So we're in April now. 1st of April, June went live today, and I think it's mainly booked out.
Yeah.
Already.
I got to do that today, which is last week. It's April 1st, but I'm putting out my classes.
Good for you. I release to Patreon first, so I do early release on my Patreon. Yeah.
That's what I do.
And no one else can book. And then 2 days later, I will release to.
Oh, that's nice. I only do like the juicy discounts for my patrons. That's what I do. I give lots of good discounts to patrons because they're making things possible.
Yeah, I give them early access because people I've released before and they're booked out within 2 hours, so I don't tend to. They do get discounts. Patreon had some good discounts for March and for my big Zoom, the 50-person Zoom that I'm doing. They've got a discount code for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, like for my classes and stuff. And then I do a discount on a reading just because I know I've got young people and they're doing their best, you know. But my readings do fill up, and then I also don't want to read all the time because, as we talked about in this, it takes a lot out of us. So I want to teach more. There's so much to teach. The magazine has been good. So, which, by the way, I have to go. We're in the future, but I'm talking about the past. It goes out to the second, so it's already out now. But it has to get tidied up, and I have to go do that.
You need to go and do that. Our listeners are going to be very confused by the end of this episode.
Oh, absolutely.
If we haven't confused people on a certain day, then we haven't done our job.
They're pretty smart. They're pretty smart.
They'll work it out. But yes, thank you for listening to us, and it's always a pleasure. And next time we talk, Laurie will be in another country.
I will. I'll be in Bahrain. So
amazing. Yeah. We're going to see how many countries we can cover in a year.
Right? Because I still don't know if I'm going back to America. I have a flexible ticket. I can go anywhere I want.
Well, I got my passport out today.
Did you?
I did.
Where are we going?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm thinking about August doing something. We'll see. We shall see, because my dog sitter comes back to live.
Ooh,
I'm no longer bound by Buffy.
Yes.
My youngest son is going to be back in town as of next month.
Oh, excellent.
So
excellent.
Yes.
So you can take off and do your whimsy.
I can take off and do something, because that's always been the plan. Doing what I do, I can do it from anywhere in the world. And I can guarantee you have to be back in London. Maybe I'll come to London. And I can guarantee you that I can say I'm going to be in this town on this day, and people would book in-person readings with them.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
So we shall see.
We're not doing that for me.
No.
I do a show with you.
Yeah, we talked about doing a show, didn't we?
We did.
I think we need to do that.
I think we
just
should.
have to decide where the lucky place is going to be.
Right. We'll work on that. We'll see.
Yes.
I don't think it's time yet, but we're getting there. We're brewing. We're brewing it in the cauldron.
But we are going to do a Zoom show.
We are.
That one's going to be fun. Well, I have to go to bed. I'm sorry. Right. I'm starting to not make sense.
Nope, you're good. You need to sleep. Good night, Gracie.
Night night.